So, Malorie, thank you so much for joining us on Penguin Platform.
Oh, my pleasure.
So I read it took a while before you got your first book published. Can you tell me a bit about that process and then when you finally got that deal?
I started writing picture books and early readers, and I'd send them off and I'd get them back, you know, not suitable for our list. It was basically no thank you. And so it took me over 2 years and 8 or 9 books and 82 rejection letters. 82 before I finally got a yes through the post. So I just freaked out when I got my yes. When I was getting all those rejection letters, I must admit, around the sort of 60th one, I thought, oh, am I wasting my time here? You know, should I give up? And I did come about that close to giving up. Thank God I didn't. But then I sort of, the quality of the rejection letters changed, because instead of just a straight out no, editors started telling me why it wasn't suitable, why the story wasn't working. And I thought, well, actually, if they are taking the trouble to tell me why it's not working, that's a good sign. And so I thought, and it was always with me, well, if they don't like it, then maybe the next one will. Or if they don't like this story, maybe they'll like the next story. And I made a deal with myself that I would wait until I had my 1000th rejection letter, and then I would, and then I'd have a serious think about whether or not I was going to be a writer. So I only got to 82, which is good.
I love that. I love that as a motto, just the resilience. 1,000.
Yeah, I thought I'll wait till I get to 1,000, and then I'll have not I was going to give up, but I'd have a serious think about whether or not it was going to happen.
So can you tell me, like, how do you plan a book? Like, where do you start?
I kind of work on my story arc, so I work on my beginning, middle and end, and I just a line for each, so I kind of know the direction I want to go in. And then hard work starts, because then I do character biographies for all my major characters, and that usually runs to about 3-4 pages minimum, and it's things like, you know, what kind of music are they into, what kind of food do they like, so I really get to know my characters first before I start, and that way they feel like real people to me before I've even written the first word. I'm very careful about selecting what kind of music they like, and then I will play that in the background as I'm writing them. So I did that when I was doing Toby from Double Cross, and he was into rock and Green Day and Muse and so on, so I had that playing in the background so that so I could kind of, he would inhabit me as I was kind of writing his story, and it really works. It does help.
What was it that made you click when you were in your 20s to yes, I want to write?
I think what it was in all the thousands and thousands and thousands of books I read as a child, I didn't read a single book that featured a black character, not one. And then when I was and so it never occurred to me that I could get stories published, because I hadn't seen any published that featured anyone but white characters. So, but then when I was in 21, 22, I read my first book that featured a black character. I mean, what an age to get to before you see yourself reflected in the books you're reading. And that was The Colour Purple by Alice Walker.
I remember reading that.
I know, it's a brilliant book, isn't it? And I read that, and it was just like a light bulb going on. And I thought it was an amazing book, and I thought, gosh, black people can get published. And so I thought, and that's when that planted the seed of maybe I could actually be a published author as well. I did a writing for women workshop, I did a science fiction writing workshop, I did a horror workshop, and then I joined writing for children workshop, and that's when it clicked, and I thought, that's what I want to do. I want to write for children. And it was because I was in a bookshop that was dedicated to children's books, and I was walking around it, and I still loved reading children's books even in my 20s, but I was walking around it and I thought, where are all the books that have black children on the covers? And there was one, in fact, it was James Berry's The Thief in the Village and other stories. And I thought, and then I thought, well, rather than whinging about it, why don't you try and do something about it? Just write the books you'd love to have read as a child, which were mysteries and thrillers and whodunits and adventure stories that feature black children. Yeah. And that's when I thought, okay, that's what I want to do. I want to write for children. So that's when it all sort of came together in my head.
Wow. Malorie, I could chat to you forever. Please, can I?
Go ahead.
But yeah, I think we're out of time. But thank you so much for chatting to us. It was amazing.
Oh, my pleasure.
Malorie Blackman.